Today I'm going to present a point-counterpoint argument on whether or not satire and parody, forms of comedy, should be regulated forms of speech. Let's start with some definitions. Satire is a literary or artistic work that uses humor to ridicule individuals' characters, often those individuals in power. Parody is a literary or artistic work that imitates an existing work in order to comment on that original work. Parody is a form of satire. Both are comedic forms of criticism which often target political and social issues. Arguments for regulating satire and parody usually fall under four justifications: that they are libel and slander, that they cause emotional distress, that they are an invasion of privacy, and that they are copyright infringement. Libel and slander are the written and spoken forms of defamation of an individual, and in the case Hustler Magazine Inc. versus Falwell, the Reverend Jerry Falwell sued Hustler Magazine for libel when it parodied a liquor ad by using an illustration of him having an incestuous encounter with his mother. He also sued them for causing emotional distress and invasion of privacy. There have also been cases when satire and parody have been sued for copyright infringement, such as SunTrust Bank versus Houghton Mifflin Company, when Margaret Mitchell's estate sued the publisher of Alice Randall's book, The Wind Done Gone, for parodying Gone with the Wind. Another suit was brought by Fox News against the publisher of Al Franken's book, Lies and the Lying Liars Who Tell Them. This was a suit for trademark infringement, similar to copyright infringement, because his book used the slogan "Fair and Balanced," and also the cover parodied covers of books by their anchor Bill O'Reilly. In all three cases, the suit was decided in favor of the defendant or thrown out for lack of merit. However, this does not always happen. A judge in a case from 2000 said that expression prohibited by the Copyright Act and not falling within fair use is not protected under the First Amendment. And this was the case with Dr. Seuss Enterprises versus Penguin Books USA, when it was decided that the book The Cat Not in the Hat, a parody by Dr. Seuss, did not fairly parody the book The Cat in the Hat and did not fall within fair use. Another support for protecting copyrighted works is from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states everyone has the right to the protection of the moral and material interests resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author. A further argument for regulating parody and satire is that it can expose people to danger if believed to be blasphemy, a famous example being the Charlie Hebdo murders, and thus some would argue that they should be restricted for safety reasons and because of blasphemy, including affronting the dignity of the believer. Finally, Smith points out in his article that parody is usually used to fight for the underdog, and if it is aimed at those in a weak position, it can go too far and thus possibly should be regulated. However, there are very strong arguments against regulating satire and parody. They are protected under the First Amendment in the United States, especially if they are aimed at political issues, since they can then be construed as a form of political speech, one of the classes protected under the First Amendment. Additionally, in terms of copyright infringement, parody and satire are often protected under the fair use policy, which looks at four factors: the purpose and character of the use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the portion of the copyrighted work taken, and the effect of the use on the market. All four factors are balanced carefully on a case-by-case basis, but it is important to note that one purpose considered fair use is criticism, and often this is the purpose of satire and parody. Protecting satire and parody is also supported by Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression, and that this right includes the freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. This would include imparting information through satirical means. In considering the arguments about blasphemy and the fact that many countries have anti-blasphemy laws, we must consider the looming threat of restricting speech due to defamation of religion. Arguing against this, if we restricted satire and parody because of defamation of religion, we would be on the slippery slope to restricting all speech about religion due to worrying about offending the beliefs of anyone of any religion, and this would create a chilling effect on free speech. The American Library Association's Freedom to Read statement supports the openness of all speech by saying we believe that free communication is essential to the preservation of a free society and a creative culture. This would include satirical comments about religion. Finally, both HG.org and Sturges point out that satire and parody provide constructive criticism of political, social, and religious situations, and that this itself is a type of freedom because it allows people to evaluate their opinions and retain them or change them as they so choose. As an individual and an LIS professional, my position is that parody and satire should be protected. Not doing so would violate the First Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Regulating satire and parody would be a violation of the ethical codes of the LIS profession, as the regulation would be a form of censorship, and the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights clearly states that libraries should challenge censorship. It also states that materials should not be excluded because of the origin, background, or views of those contributing to their creation, and this would include satirical views. It further states that libraries should provide materials and information presenting all points of view on current and historical issues. Protecting satire and parody is also supported by the ALA's Code of Ethics, which states that we distinguish between our personal convictions and professional duties, which means that even if we personally disagreed with the satire or parody, we could not exclude it from our collections. Further, the Code of Ethics states that we respect intellectual property rights and advocate balance between the interests of information users and rights holders, which supports the balance created by the doctrine of fair use. Ultimately, there is no legal foundation for regulating satire and parody in the United States, whereas there is a legal foundation for protecting it. Satire and parody are bound to offend someone at some point, but the free flow of information is necessary for a free society and for protecting human rights. Thus, legally and ethically, satire and parody should be protected classes of speech.